State of mind, yes. Insofar as the city of Dallas gets its electricity provided by a nuclear power plant, then somebody that has studied non destructive testing techniques that would be necessary in order to do things like, for instance, do an inspection of a nuclear facility is not completely beyond the realm of reason. However, if we're talking about what could potentially compromise nuclear safety in regards to some sort of illegal contract bidding scheme, especially in connection with an ongoing process of trying to bring articles of impeachment against the Texas State Senate for attempting to engage unconstitutional legislation that is actually a violation of the Texas Constitution, specifically regarding terms related to bidding on contracts, as well as disclosure regarding any sort of case settlement involving a political subdivision, then when these factors conspire as they do, especially in an effort to misreport abuse of previous efforts to provide reports or whistleblower reports or to follow up on defaults for refusing to report while the information ends up getting farmed out and sold to private interest that then misrepresent earnings statements that have a material impact on things that would be otherwise considered regarding the financial stability, then we have some problems. Now, today would have been a very important deadline in regards to a process that would have already occurred were I not to have been intentionally obstructed in being able to go through an appropriate court system. I made some other records, some voice files last night and today because I understand how these deadlines work. And so when there's a lack of disclosure and there is no actual forthrightness or professionalism or collegiality, it can actually compound the situation to a very high level of risk. And I understand that's what we're dealing with right now. Now, yesterday there was a deadline, and the day before there was a deadline where certain interests who were using my efforts as derivative actions and were using my formal filings as underwriting on whatever the insurance was or whatever the surety was connected to the cases they were actually focused on, were hoping that I would be compelled to provide a formal filing through the court system. I didn't do that. There was some sort of default, and now there is a contract getting hooked up on this location. I know what you want. I got it right here. It's handwritten because I have not typed it up. And you know this because I actually was ready to file this the first week of December. I had written it in November with an understanding the deadline of concern was in December. But when I tried to go through the appropriate process, I was obstructed. The only person I have been allowed to talk to was the alleged clerk of the court, who told me I had to kick it back to the local system, which was not only against the procedure, but was actually a part of an attempt to extort me into providing a kickback. I didn't do that, and they've retaliated against me, and they're attempting to do it today. Now, understand that what they're doing is they're involved in processes of setting up what would be otherwise identifiable as a terminating hedge. I know that. I know that's kind of the level of risk we're at. I'm letting you know I have what you want, but I also have what I want. And I'm not going to kick it back to the local district court. As I said yesterday, there is an appropriate process. But in this case, the appropriate process involves me being given access to the means by which to confirm filing through the electronic filing process with a court of appeals outside of the 5th district. I need to have the case allowed to be transferred through the court of appeals system to another circuit that is not the 5th. Because, unfortunately, the intentional obstruction of my efforts last December has revealed that at least twice the 5th Circuit Court of Appeals has been abused in the very kickback scheme that they've been attempting to extort me to cooperate with. I'm not going to do that. I have what you have, what you want. I had it ready last week. It could have been ready for Monday, but I couldn't do it Monday because you were attempting to extort me. I am not going to be able to file anything with the Northern District of Texas U.S. District Court. This is not appropriate for anything within the jurisdiction of the state of Texas court system. This is for the Court of Appeals. But the 5th Circuit Court has been excluded as being a place I can understand that I would reasonably be able to expect impartiality in consideration of my case, because at least twice since I was first intentionally obstructed and attempted for extortion into a kickback, there have been two efforts locally that have occurred that have been revealed and confirmed based upon actions that were taken in the very court of concern. So I'm letting you know, and I'm also letting you know why I can't. I could make anything that would be connected to obligations in a actual professional consideration. I am not going to agree to being extorted into giving a local kickback, especially because I have absolutely every understanding of how high the risk is right at this moment. At the same time, it is not appropriate to try to intimidate me or threaten me with some sort of displacement from my living arrangement, especially after it has been engaged under fraudulent pretenses, and I know it was, as a form of trying to coerce me into acceding to some sort of derivative, or at least by plausible deniability, lower risk level of agreeing to the kickback, right? It's 10:23 a.m. on April 14th, 2021. Not so ironically, certain things would have already posted in New York, but not in Dallas, right? I'm in Dallas, by the way, not Fort Worth. I'm supposed to be in Fort Worth, aren't I? But I'm not, and I haven't been for a very long time.